Legends, welcome back to another team preview for 2026. Today's team preview is none other than the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Hard for me to say that one, but here we are, South Sydney Rabbitohs. To join me all the way from Big Lez's League podcast, Leroy, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Keen for this one. My team, obviously. I think if I knew that you were a Roosters fan before, I probably would have hesitated a little bit more. But look, I'm keen. It's a good side this year. As much as you probably don't want to admit it, it's a good-looking side this year. And I'm just excited to get stuck into my South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Mate, you're exactly right. It is a really good-looking side. It's really scary to admit, especially as a Roosters fan and opposition for you guys. But look, we'll get into some players very, very shortly. But mate, we're going to start with some ins and outs for 2026. Of course, your big one, big day for Peter, comes over from the Titans. Massive inclusion in that squad there. He's probably, for me, he's the player who I'm most looking forward to watching in the team. Mate, are there any other sort of gains or losses that, losses you're going to miss, or any gains that you're really excited for?
Yeah, look, so just touching on Dave Fifita, big signing for the club. He obviously is going to slot in on that left back row, which is going to be really great for us. That left edge is just going to look absolutely diabolical. It's going to be a fun one to watch this year. But just in regards to some other signings, mate, I really like the pickup of Jonah Glover. I think he's probably going to be the big one. A lot of people chatting about Jamie Humphries hopping into that 7 and taking it for the majority of the season. I actually think that's Jonah Glover's jersey, and just watching training and talking to a few other guys as well, it seems like Jonah Glover's actually the standout. So we'll sort of get a bit of a taste of him when Jamie Humphries is out due to suspension to start the year. We'll get a few rounds of Jonah Glover. I think if he leaves a good enough impression, he'll probably earn that first grade spot. He's definitely one to look back on and watch his highlights in the lower grades. He's very talented, really good running game, very solid kicker. He's probably the one that I'm most excited about in regards to locking down that 7, because I think that's probably the only question mark about the Rabbitohs, right? It's the 7 jersey. Who's going to sit there? So, Jonah Glover's the watch for me, mate.
Man, I love it. Of course, news this week, Matt Duffy has signed with the club. Interesting signing there. I mean, I like it. I liked what Matt Duffy produced at St. George. It would just be interesting to see where you play him. Am I feeling a little bit of a Cody Walker retirement, maybe a Jai Grader 6, Trell Mitt center, and then Duffy fullback? What do you reckon?
So it's just a New South Wales Cup contract, so we can't play first grade unless you get a allowance from the NRL. So I don't think you'd be playing first grade. I know that it's obviously an exciting one to get in, and it's definitely great depth. You have to obviously get permission from the NRL to bring him through if there's dire injuries again this year, which obviously is on the back of every South fan's mind. But he is definitely a good little purchase. I also think it's a bit of a stepping stone before he goes to Perth. I think it's more of an audition for him to just sort of take that year with South Sydney, play a bit of New South Wales Cup. It'll probably most likely be on the wing, because we've got Latrell Siegwalt too, who's in the lower grades. We've got the Brisbane Broncos. He'll probably be playing fullback in Cup. So it'll probably be wing for Duffy, but if he can leave a good enough impression and play some good footy, maybe if he does get some time at fullback and really impresses there for the Bunnies in New South Wales Cup, it could be a little bit of an audition for Perth. He's played well in the Super League too. Like, he was man of steel I think a year or two ago. So he's definitely a good pickup. I do tend to think, though, that I'm just not sure how much first grade time he's going to get, even if he does get upgraded throughout the year and or if he does get extended with South Sydney beyond 2026. I just don't know how much first grade is going to be in there. You've got Jai Gray, who you're going to blood for the future. I just don't think there's going to be too many guys. You sort of talked about Cody Walker and potential retirement there. I sort of tend to think it is Cody Walker's last year, although the Rabbitohs boys would probably disagree. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see. If Cody Walker can stay on the park for the full 20-odd rounds, then I think that he'll be sweet to play on. It's just going to be, as we were sort of alluding to before, a matter of injuries, right?
Yeah, the injuries are going to be the big killer. And look, we'll get into 2025 review in a sec. But just before we do, the other sort of underrated signing that has flown under the radar a little bit, Adam Elliott comes over from Newcastle. A lot of people didn't know about this signing, but great little pickup for you guys.
Yeah, and look, it's actually not on a huge contract either. He's on minimum.
Yeah,
He's still a 30 player, which is good. So he'll be able to play a bit of first grade there, but it is on minimum. So it's a really good value signing. I know that there was a little bit of struggle, obviously, getting him into a team. I know that he was talking to South Sydney a couple of months ago, but he was also talking to the Roosters and I think Manly. But both of those guys offered him development deals, and he wasn't keen to sort of sit on a training trial and sort of earn his way back into a first grade team. He's an established first grader. So yeah, obviously signs the South Sydney Rabbitohs on that top 30 deal. Is the only club to offer him the top 30 deal. And he's going to plug his way through and hopefully earn himself a spot in jersey 17. But I'll tell you what, the side that we've got this year, and we'll get to it in the preview, is absolutely stacked for forward. So I'm just not sure where he fits, but it is definitely a good pickup in regards to mentoring, especially with some of the younger guys coming through, Keon leaving. If you can just be that mentor, I think that's going to be really nice for us moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, there are some great gains. A couple of losses, obviously. Davey Mawali has gone over to Melbourne Storm. He's a big loss for you guys. But, mate, let's jump into a bit of our 2025 review now. Obviously, not a great season for South Sydney, finishing 14th in the regular season, 24 games played, minus 181 point differential, and then 24 competition points. So, obviously, it was a pretty tight comp in general. But finishing 14th, the big talking point last year was the injuries. Cam Murray going down for most of the season, Latrell Mitt injured throughout the year. It was just injuries just killed you, mate.
They did, didn't they? It was probably the year of the injuries, and with the talent of that roster, if we were to stay on the park, you'd argue that there'd be a top 8 side at least, easy. So, really unfortunate that it was the case that we had a few guys go down, and we're really struggling to put teams together. I mean, we were probably the first side in a couple of years to go without an 18th man as well.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely wild to think about when you've got a squad of 30 players. That just goes to show how many injuries they really had. So, look, as I said, and I was sort of alluding to with Cody and a few of these other guys, if they can just stay on the park, this is a top 8 side. It's potentially a top 4 side going into this season. So, unfortunately, that wasn't the case last year. Plenty of injuries. Cam Murray was probably the big one for me, having him out all year, that leader through the middle there. I just feel like if we had him at least, we'd probably have gone a little bit further. So, look, getting guys back in, getting extra guys on top of that as well, hopefully locking in a 7 this year. I think that 2025 was a tough one, and we'll obviously learn a lot of lessons from that. The good thing about these injury years, I think the best example of it is the Roosters, probably in 2021, I think it was, when they had a bunch of injuries, still managed to play finals. But they blooded in guys like the Butcher brothers. They blooded in guys like Siwa Wong, got his opportunity at that stage, I believe. There was plenty of guys that they brought through as well and elevated into first grade and given opportunities to. So I think that it's a similar sort of thing here with South Sydney. We've seen a lot more of Jai Gray than what we probably would have seen if there was a lot less injuries. We've seen guys like Ashton Ward, who I think if he wasn't on a development contract or a train and trial contract, you'd probably be seeing a lot more of him going into 2026. Sorry. Just so many really good guys that we've seen blooded in this team as a result of the injuries, which I think is going to pay dividends. So if we're in a similar sort of position, there's really no excuses. These guys have played first grade. So I do like the fact that we've blooded a few young guys. And I also think it's just created a bit of a headache for Uncle Wayne too, because you've blooded all these guys in, and now you're looking at a side that's very stacked. A lot of these guys have played first grade in this top 30 squad, and it's going to be hard to put a team together, especially in the pack. So sport for choice, I should say, which is a good and a bad thing. But yeah, look, excited to sort of get stuck into it. You can see that I'm pretty keen to get stuck into the preview. But look, tough year with injuries. I think that's probably the best way to sum up 2025.
Man, I'll tell you what, Wayne probably doesn't need any more headaches at his age. But look, it's a good one to have. Mate, let's jump into, before we get into our preview, let's go to your bread and butter, Supercoach. I've got NRL Fantasy there. We mainly play Supercoach, just for the people that might not. But, mate, I'm going to go through a couple of players here. Let me know if, any of value to you, and we'll go through some cheapies as well. But obviously the big one that everyone's talking about, everyone would probably have him in their team by now, as Supercoach did open yesterday, but that's David Fafita. Now, obviously we spoke about how good he's looking, how fit he's looking at the moment. I don't know if people saw that reel that went across social media of him with the big goosey out on the wing, mate, and just looked electric. So, mate, he is going to be one of the first picks at 485K second row, mate. He's a steal.
Very good value there for Dave Fafita. And, you know, obviously the fact that he didn't play too much last year just alludes to that price. So he's definitely the value play of 2026. And I think that you definitely got to have a little bit of a sniff at him, especially in the 400s. Like, that's just absolutely crazy. There's a few players like that who their prices have sort of dropped, and you just got to really jump on that. So, yeah, Dave Fafita is definitely one of those. And on that lethal left edge, hopefully it's the only thing I'm worried about with Fafita for a Supercoach perspective. And we sort of spoke about it as well on our show on the Burst with myself and Sav. And that's decoy danger. If he's running too many decoys and Latrell's getting the cutout passes and he's not getting those involvements, then that's obviously going to be a worry. But other than that, like, Dave Fafita is definitely a guy that you're definitely worth taking that risk on.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, let's talk some of the premium options. Of course, you got Keon Koloamatangi, who we know has been a Supercoach and fantasy gun for a long time. He's at 666, scary, the devil's number there, but he's 666K in the front row. Of course, he's a premium option. Alex Johnson is the next at 650. Interesting with AJ, obviously, heading towards breaking that record. But I think for him, I try and steer clear of wingers in general. I know there are some real cheapies going around at the moment. I like to play my centers as my wingers. I'm not sure about you, but mate, have you got your eye on either of those premium options?
Not AJ. I think that although he's probably going to be scoring plenty of tries, and you'd hope so as a South Sydney fan, he goes over and breaks that record, which I'm sure he will.
Yeah,
I'm probably not going to. I'm sort of in the same headspace as you a little bit. I do tend to sort of prioritize centers, but in saying that, like, it's been a pretty crazy 24 hours. We did our halfbacks analysis the other day for Supercoach on the podcast for Sav, and he almost convinced me to just bring in Cleary and to bring in Hines, and so my side from yesterday to today has changed completely. So, yeah, I almost really can't afford a few other guys. I've got Jalen de Groot in there, which I really don't like. I probably want to get him out as soon as possible. Bailey Simonson. So I've got a couple of wingers in there. But, yeah, look, I think AJ is probably the one I'm going to stay away from a little bit. And then who was the other one, sorry, that you threw up there? Was it
Keon was the first
Keon?
one.
Yeah, Keon I'm probably going to stay away from a little bit as well. I think that there's a few better options out there. Keon is, if he plays big minutes and he gets big scores, he's going to be an instant trade-in. But I just look at guys like Couchman. I look at guys like Hopgood. I look at guys like Calhoun. I just think you're going to get some better options there for some cheaper guys that will probably get some big scores as well. So Keon for me at the moment isn't the play.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about your boy Trell Mitt, mate. 626K. Of course, we both know Trell Mitt pretty well. I mean, former Rooster, now South Sydney. So, you know, I'm just trying to hold that in a little bit. But look, he's looking fit, and every year, you know, the media come in, they go, "Oh, Latrell's looking fit." He gets an injury, and then, you know, it doesn't go to plan. But this year, from what I've seen, he looks clean cut. He is ready to go. Any interest for you, mate, at 626K?
Almost. I just don't want to go there to start. I just want to watch how much involvement he has, how many touches he's getting there at center. You know, Joel's the guy that comes in for the big moments. I want someone that's going to be just maybe a little bit more involved. I look at guys like Herbie. I'm willing to pay a bit of extra coin for him. Even Val Holmes, I'm going to pay extra coin for him. I think the troll at the moment is a wait and see. I want to see how involved he gets there at center. I almost think the better play is you back up fullback, maybe you go a Jai Gray. Because I think that, you know, just with the meters that he gets out of his own end and the touches that he gets, what we saw from him last year, it's probably a little bit of a better purchase than going with a Latrell Mitchell at this stage.
Yeah, mate, I love it. Let's move down the list a little bit. Of course, the return of Cam Murray, mate, he's at 548K, which is very cheap for a player of his caliber. Obviously in second row there, mate. Any interest in Cam Murray?
I think that you could go either Dave Fafita or Cam Murray. I don't think you can go both. I'd rather go Dave Fafita. I think there's more upside there. So Cam Murray's not in my side at the moment, but he will be a bit of a watch. And as I said, if you go either way, I wouldn't hold you to it.
I love it, mate. Mate, let's talk a couple of cheapies for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. You talked about Jonah before. Of course, he's a halfback 5'8" dual, which is very handy, 201K. So if he does crack a spot, he would be very, very good to have. Obviously, his break even would be, nothing at this rate. So he's already going to make cash for you. Mate, any interest in potentially bringing in Jonah?
Yeah, well, look, it seems like the Rabbitohs, just with their media and what they've done over the last couple of days, they've really hinted at the fact that Humphries is going to come in after his suspension and he'll take over that jersey. Anything can happen in rugby league, but just a little bit of uncertainty there for me. Plus, you've got guys like Pezzett, who's at 235K. You've got guys like Atkinson, who are 235K. Like, I feel like they're a lot more safe in their jerseys, and I'm more inclined to go that way than the way of Glover, unfortunately. But look, if you were to go Glover, I wouldn't push back on it too much. I just think there's better options out there.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Are there any other sort of cheapies or any other players in the Rabbitohs we've missed that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I've got Cody. I've got Cody in my side at 5'8".
Wow, very nice.
I had Munster, but just as I said, my side's changed completely in the last 24 hours. I've been scrambling a little bit, and Cody's in there. I think that he'll have a really good year. I think just that lethal left edge, he's going to be setting up a couple of tries. So I've got him there at 5'8" at the moment. Will potentially move to a Munster if I make a bit of cash throughout the season, but just with Cleary and Hines in my side at the moment, I can't afford to go the way of Munster.
I'll tell you what, great value too, 399K, pretty cheap for a player like Cody Walker. Mate, that's fantastic. Of course, if you are playing Supercoach, I know you've got a league running too, Big Les. We do have a league running. Our Ruck Infringement Podcast Week is going, so I will drop our league code in the description so you can check that out as well. Plenty of prizes up for grabs from our good friends at SC Rings. All right, mate, let's talk a little bit of South Sydney Rabbitohs players to watch for this year. We've touched on Fafita. Mate, is there anyone in this lineup that Souths fans or fans of the game in general should be watching in 2026?
There's a few in the lineup. There's a few out of the lineup at the moment. So I've got a little bit of a list here. We already talked about Jonah Glover, who I think will definitely be the watch for the number 7 jersey. The one that's not in the lineup that I think definitely is going to make a push in the next couple of years when Jack Whiten obviously gets to the back end of his career and that centre spot opens up. Keep an eye on Talanoa Penatani. Really, really good training this year in the with the boys at first grade. Obviously during the preseason, he's had a really, really strong preseason. He's looked good the last couple of years and just hasn't really had an opportunity to kick down the door to jump into first grade. He's definitely a watch for me. Training the house down this preseason, so he'll definitely be a watch there at centre. And if there's injuries in the centres or if they end up moving Latrell back to fullback, he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think that the obvious ones, though, you touched on Fafita, but I think Jai Gray, they're at fullback a full season there, obviously uninterrupted. I don't think they're going to move Latrell back, to be fair. So I think that Jai Gray will get that full year at fullback, and you'll have a really big year from him. And then I got a guy that had a breakout year at the back end of the year last year for South Sydney, Tallis Duncan, where he sort of fit into the mold. Obviously, Dave Fafita is going to lock down that left edge. I'm hoping Tallis Duncan's on the right side or at least included in the 17 somewhere because he'll definitely be a watch after he, had an absolutely unbelievable back end of 2025 and, obviously played in the centres there as well with how busted our side was and still managed to score tries and didn't look out of place at all. So Tallis Duncan will be, I guess, the watch for me in this lineup. And, I mean, just one more to throw at you. Brandon Smith had a really, really good season. He's very, very fit. Cam Murray was asked the other day who the standout was of the preseason, and he said Brandon Smith. So he'll definitely be one to watch. He's also potentially training with the starters. I've heard little whispers there as well. So keep an eye on him. I think for Supercoach as well, we didn't touch on him, but he's at 235 as well for the hooker position. I'd be jumping on him if you haven't already, because I think he'll get at least 50, 55 minutes a game because he'll move into the middle forwards at some stage as well.
Yeah, he loves a try too from dummy half, old Cheese. Mate, a player I want to mention who I really, really enjoyed in the couple of games he played last year was De Blanc. I thought he was a really, really good young kid coming through last year, and I really loved what I saw from him and just the grittiness. I found he was a really gritty player, so I'd love to see some more from him this year as well. And Lockie Hubner, great to see Lockie Hubner running around again. I thought he was really, really good last year, especially at the start of the season. I think then he had a suspension or an injury and it sort of dropped off a little bit, but at the start of the year, he was looking really good. The big one for me, Cam Murray. I think him coming back, it's just what South Sydney need. He's their spiritual leader, and I think Cam Murray is going to have a huge year. Probably plays representative footy again, based on form, but I think his form will warrant it anyway. Mate, let's talk a little bit about the ladder finish for this year. Now, South Sydney, obviously, we spoke about 14th last season. Where can you see them finishing in 2026?
Look, I think they're definitely going to be a top 8 side. I think they'll be pushing the 4. So I've got them at the moment 6 to 8. But as I said, they're very likely to push forward. The roster that they've got pending injuries, they're going to be a serious threat. I mean, just going through the list: Jai Gray, Latrell Mitchell, Jack White, and Campbell Graham, Cody Walker, Keon Kolomatangi, Dave Fafita, Tallis Duncan, Cam Murray, Jai Arrow, Hubner, Brandon Smith, Humphreys. Like, it is an unbelievable team. There's definitely a premiership window there open for South Sydney. I think they're definitely a top 8 side. The only question mark I'd have is the halfback jersey. For me, it's Glover, but I do like Humphreys. And I think if he can get his game together and be a bit more of a game manager as well, Jamie Humphreys doesn't really have to do too much because Cody and Trell and Gray, these sort of guys will take a lot of the attacking scenarios. But if he can really just get that game manager hat on in that halfback jersey and, take some raids himself and really open things up, I think that he'll take that jersey and do well. But for me, I just look at Glover and look at his highlights, and I think that he's got the upside there. So that'll be the battle for me to watch. But other than that, I think that this side is primed for top 8 finals football.
I love it, mate. As much as I hate to say this, I've got him in the top 8 as well. I think, and I've got him around 6. So I think they can definitely come back from last season. I mean, as we spoke about, last season was all about injuries, and I think if they stay fit, as you said, I think on the park, that's a top 8 team right there. The Rooster fan in me would love to see a spoon, but it ain't going to happen. So I'm going to say 6th or 7th there, not on purpose either. But I think they'll finish 6th. And, look, let's hope we meet in the finals. It'll be really good. Mate, before we finish up, I want you to fire up the South Sydney fans with some last words. What can they expect this year in 2026?
I think I've said it pretty much all show. I think this is a top 8 side. I think this can be a top 4 side. I think this can be a premiership side. So I look at the South Sydney team. I look at the guys that they've got in this roster. I read it out before. They are a final football team. If Latrell Mitchell can stay on the park, if Cody Walker can stay on the park, if all the boys stay on the park, it's too good of a roster to be a bottom 4, bottom 8 side. So expect big things, Rabbitohs fans. I think that this is going to be one of our years. I think that we will definitely be playing finals football and potentially playing for a premiership too.
Mate, huge. Some great last words there. The only thing I've got to say is, look, up the chooks, I guess. I don't really have any last words for Rabbitohs fans, but I hope it's a great year for you guys. Of course, it's always nice to see a team that struggled, come back and do well. So I hope for Rabbitohs fans, it is a great season for you. Let's see what 2026 brings. Before we finish up, don't forget to check out our great friends at Wick Coffee, the best coffee going around. They do incredible ground beans. You can also get whole beans as well. They also do coffee machine repairs. So if you need any repairs done on your coffee machine, head over to Wick Coffee. Check out their whole range. It's aromatic and it's very, very good coffee. I had one just before. So check out Wick Coffee on Instagram, social media, and at their website too. But until next time, that's Big Lez. I'm the Prophet. Thanks so much, everyone. Be good.